Fall 2012 was one hell of a season for anime. It gifted us classics like Sword Art Online, Another, and even High School DxD, which, yeah, let's be honest, has a plot as well developed as a Goon Cave, which, is to say that hell hath no fury like a gooner, huh? But if you manage to slog through that endless abyss of my anime list, you might just stumble upon a little anime called Blast of Tempest. It doesn't have the most riveting summary, but man, look at that cover art. I mean, who doesn't love that defiant church vibe? But more than that, it is one of the most unique stories I've ever seen. Especially in comparison to that endless harem isekai slop they just seem to churn out every season. Blast of Tempest kicks off with our main man, Yoshino, visiting the grave of his now deceased girlfriend Aika. As he's mourning, a strange woman appears behind him, and of course, holds a gun to the back of his head. Apparently she's got some questions about Aika's brother, Mahito, who has apparently been missing for about a month now. Things escalate quickly, and just when you think Yoshino's about to get JFK'd, a swarm of swallowtail butterflies swoop in and distract her for but a moment, after which, of course, the man of the hour appears out of literally nowhere and saves Yoshino. This man, of course, is Mahito, and he just thrashes on the woman. She stands no chance, but it also might have to do with the fact that, of course, he can use magic, but not some fireball magic. No. I'm talking a real man's magic. Fast movement and barriers. And that's it. And, well, I mean, they also have healing, but it's really just the fast movement and barriers that matter. But it is almost unfair, the kind of beatdown Mahiro gives her. It's the kind of beatdown that would make even the great Andrew Tate call for mommy. After they leave the scene with a woman unconscious behind them, they navigate through a city where everyone's become statues, thanks to something called the Black Iron Syndrome. This was created by a family of magicians trying to revive a godly creature. And I should say, these magicians don't mess around. At one point, one of them literally pulls a Batman where he just walks out of a raging fire like it was nothing. Mahito, and anyone close to him, receive their protection from the syndrome thanks to the ever so lovely wooden doll in his jacket. But of course, it isn't just any doll. It can communicate with the strongest mage of all mankind, an heiress to that magic family we were talking about earlier. Her name is Kurosabe Hakaze. She claims to be the only one who can stop this tragedy. But here's the MacGuffin. She's currently trapped on an island in the middle of nowhere in nothing but rags. And the only way she can communicate is through that wooden doll. Luckily enough for her, when she put it in a bottle and sent it across the ocean, Mahito somehow found it, and they made a bit of a deal. A devilish deal, maybe. If he helps her escape the island, she'll use her magic to track down Aika's killer. Which, of course, he wants to murder them. Yeah, he's not super happy that his sister got murdered, but it also might have something to do with his intense feelings about his dead sister, and not just in the revenge way. Mahito is this edgy loser who, ironically, has the fate of the world in his hands. Not that he particularly gives two shits about the world, because all he wants to do is goon to his dead sister, and will do anything it takes to murder the one who killed her, even if he has to screw over the rest of the world to do it. But past his veiled edginess is actually a pretty nice guy who's just grappling with a loved one's death. And I'm sure we've all lost someone, so it's not that hard to sympathize with the man. Yoshino initially comes off as this blank slate, reliable friend character, and almost sheep-like and never going against Mahiro's words. But as the plot thickens, and layers of his character peels away, we find out that he is probably the best liar of all time. This man is the best liar of all time. And not to mention a professional fence sitter. Hakaze's kind of a bitch at the start, always nagging the boys from her island in the middle of nowhere, but throughout the story it's made apparent that she's just a girl and she's more scared than anybody. She's just a girl in the world. And, wouldn't you be scared if you were stuck on an island in the middle of nowhere? Had to figure things out yourself? You're literally living Hatchet. Nobody wants to live Hatchet. You think you do until you're there, and then you starve to death. But she has to live that. And not just that, she has to find a way off the island. With magic. Which she can't use. because her powers are like sealed on the island. But it is kind of sweet just how much her and the boys get along by the end of the story, especially considering their initial relationship was built on revenge. She even becomes quite the show stealer later on, as if the story about the boys was merely an interlude, and her story matters the most. Aika. Oh man, Aika. I don't think I've ever seen a character play out like Aika has. Despite being dead from literally before episode 1, and only ever being referenced in flashbacks, she somehow is able to cast a larger shadow than the so-called greatest mage of mankind. And as we learn more through the story, she becomes so much more important than you think she would. And by the way, it's not like she gets revived at any time in the story. She stays dead the whole time, and yet she probably has the most impact on the story as a whole. And she's dead. From episode 1 she's dead. From before episode 1 she's dead. That's crazy. And of course that is kind of explained later on. Now I gotta tell you, the animation and art style are stunning. It's got this theatrical flair that makes you feel like you're watching a grand stage play, instead of some anime you definitely didn't pirate. Wink wink. I mean, the battles are fluid, bombastic, beautifully combining otherworldly magic with surprisingly normal fighting styles. Not to mention the fact that Yoshino, Mahito, and Aika all quote The Tempest and Hamlet all the time, which, if you don't know, are two plays written by Shakespeare. Now, I'm sure you've heard of Hamlet, but Tempest? Even I haven't heard of that one before. It's not as critically acclaimed as Hamlet or Romeo or Juliet is. It's a simple story about a literal mage on an island. Does that sound familiar, perhaps? Yeah, exactly. But it is interesting to say how all of Shakespeare's most critically acclaimed plays are all tragedies. And yet The Tempest is not. It ends in everybody having a happy ending, and everyone ending with a smile. So maybe everyone might end up with a smile on their face by the end of this story. Who knows? You might just have to watch it and find out. And after rewatching it, after reading The Tempest, is a completely different experience. Every time they quoted the book, I literally sat there doing the Wojak face in my computer. And not just the theatrics, but also the fight scenes are just... Mwah. Mwah. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. I mean, who knew a fight scene could look like a coked-up ballet performance by a couple of crackheads trying to murder each other? But in a way, it's to be expected, as the studio creating all this is Studio Bones. But man, I gotta say, for 2012, they really outdid themselves. The soundtrack is just phenomenal. The classical orchestra elevates every scene. The music breathes life into the show, adding a timeless quality that beautifully complements those Shakespearean tragedy vibes. Is there a haunting revelation that could only come out of some sort of H.P. Lovecraft book? They got a track for that. How about a fight with the fate of the world at stake? They got that one too. Or maybe even a quiet moment of self-reflection, where a character just continuously gaslights themselves. Well, they got a track for that too. And don't get me started on the opening and ending themes. Man, when they hit you with the choo, kita, kita, choo. Dude. Dude, all four. The two ending songs and the two opening songs, masterpieces. Never skip them. Never skip them. I never skipped them once, and I would be heartbroken if anybody skipped them ever if they watch this. Man, you can't tell right now, but I'm gooning in my seat right now just thinking about it. I'm itching to listen to it again. Just let me listen to it again. That's all I want. Happy endings and spirit inspiration are peak. And I'm not even mentioning the second OP and the second ending, since this is a 24 episode anime. But I put them in my Spotify anime playlist the moment I heard them, which I'm sure we all have on our Spotify. If you don't, you're the weird one, not me. So, what's the verdict on Blasted Tempest? Well, if you enjoy some deep philosophical themes, haunting deep mysteries, and maybe even a few magical battles here and there, I think this anime is totally worth your time. Especially if you're a theater kid, or have ever read The Tempest, or Hamlet. Just trust me, this will make you do the neckbeard Wojak, as you point at the screen every time they quote it. Time truly is out of joint. This anime has truly blown me away in every aspect. So I'm going to give Blasted Tempest a dead sister out of 10. I really can't recommend this show enough, and everything I've talked about is all stuff that happened within the first episode, so if it interests you at all, I cannot recommend you watch it enough. And hey, if this video convinces even one more person to dive into this anime, I'd have such a goofy grin on my face. But if not, that's cool too. I mean, you still watched this whole video after all. And as always, thanks for watching. Comment below what I should rant about next. I read those sometimes.